Welcome to the Tet Talk Podcast.
Episode 9.
Season 2 still. It's a long season. All right, so welcome. My name is Benjamin Else, if you did not know that already. I'm an accounts executive at Tetrad, and we have Mara, correct?
Yes. You guys would have seen me in the last episode with
she's
Lucy
not
Cold.
famous.
Woo!
And then our special guest today is from Synatic. Do you want to just introduce yourself, Jamie?
Yeah, Jamie Pierce, VP of Sales and Alliances over at Synatic. So we're a data automation and integration tool.
Does VP mean very important person?
No,
very
because
person.
that would be VI. But yes,
Thanks, Bet.
spelling isn't your strong point. It's okay.
Neither is sales.
So vice president.
Okay, very nice.
So I wear many hats. So
Okay.
basically, if I get a contract into my inbox, I'm reading a contract. If there's sales to do, I do sales. Doing quite a lot of ops as well. So lots of stuff going on.
So you mentioned a little bit about what Synatic does, but what is Synatic actually?
So Synatic is a data automation integration tool. So effectively what we're doing is we're building 4 different integration requirements into a single tool. So ETL integration, data warehousing, and API management. So ETL is moving large volumes of data at once. Integration is moving transactional data. So we talk about at Synatic being able to move 1 million rows at once or 1 row 1 million times. And then we can warehouse data within Synatic, and then you can publish that up to Power BI or whatever you need as a BI solution. And then we can do API management as well, and we can create APIs on top of the data that's in Synatic.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of the people that we have watching our podcast are
Would
quite
have
young.
gone whoosh. Sorry.
Or you guys can read up on it. But how did you? So you VP now. How'd you get there?
So I went straight into the position. So I was running a business previously called Chase Software in South Africa. Exited that business in September 2019. I'd been there for a heck of a long time, almost 20 years. So it was time for me to move on and do different things, different challenges. Friends with Martin Nordia. He's the founder and tech genius behind Synatic, behind the platform. We kind of danced around each other for 2 months and kind of figured each other out and whether we could actually work together versus just be friends and keep a level of friendship going. And that was it. There was what I like to call a Jamie-shaped hole, which is a relatively large hole, but hey, a Jamie-shaped hole in the business, and started working with Martin and haven't looked back. So that's October 2019, and been growing the business and pushing it since.
Very nice. And what do you? You said you work for you had your own software company. Did you qualify in software, or how did you get to that point of having your own business?
So I did a Bachelor of Business Science, Information Systems at UCT. So Cape Town born and bred, moved up to Joburg in 2005, I think it was, to move from a position of running the support team down in Cape Town up to Ops Director in Joburg. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know Synatic has a couple of people in Cape Town. So sorry, just on the Cape Town trend. Synatic has a couple of people in Cape Town. Do they have a branch there, or just people who work there?
We got a couple of people who work down there. No, we don't have a branch there.
Very nice.
So how does your day-to-day look? Who would you be selling to?
Sure. So our strategy is very much around partnerships in South Africa, hence Tetrad. So work very closely with your team. So we work bi-directionally with Tetrad. So we outsource some of our overflow projects to Tetrad. So a couple of great people here, obviously Ram. He leads a tech team, and that team can then implement Synatic. And then we work closely with Tetrad in terms of incoming deals from Tetrad's side. So predominantly partner focused in South Africa, and then our go-to-market is generally US and UK based as well. So pretty much that means my day starts at 8 o'clock and ends at around about 1 in the morning.
Gee. That's an intense working hours.
It's tough, but also it's exciting, and I think the the real positioning of the business is such that we're doing stuff that other people haven't done before. So very much like taking South Africa to the world and bringing the world to South Africa. So we're big believers in South Africa's capabilities. We've got a lot of wonderful, very capable tech resources in South Africa. I think South Africans generally, we're not very good at being confident enough to take ourselves out to the world. You know, we kind of look at things like the Gartner Quadrant and get freaked out. And I personally don't rate the Gartner Quadrant very much because you have to pay a whole bunch of money to be on there. So I look at that and I go like, well, how much of a test is that really of the technical prowess of the system? And I think we tend to get a little bit freaked out by that as South Africans. And one of my favorite sayings about Martin and I and taking this business overseas and really trying to grow it globally is, you know, dumb enough to try, smart enough to make it work. So like it's hard. It's not an easy road, but if it were easy, everyone would do it. So like, let's go and do stuff that other people haven't done before, and let's go and see if we can make it work. And I think that's an exciting journey to be on. So at least we're doing something, you know, like something that's noteworthy. Like, will it work 100% exactly like we expect it to? Probably not. And that's okay. Well, it hasn't already, but are we growing and are we getting traction? Absolutely.
And just on your journey with Salesforce now, do you find that a lot of the partners, clients that you guys have are do a lot of them make use of Salesforce, or is it various different things that you're integrating into? Because obviously between Tetrad and Synatic, it's integrating from whatever the client may have into Salesforce. Is that generally how it goes, or what's like your spectrum of what's integrated into?
Yeah, so we do a lot outside of Salesforce, but we do a lot with Salesforce as well. So Salesforce is, I mean, it's an incredible tool. It's just so freaking powerful, you know, and there's such a depth to what you can do with it.
Yeah.
The trick with Salesforce is that, you know, it's kind of a little bit like humans. The more capable a solution, the more complex it gets. And humans are a bit like that as well. The more capable the human, the more complex they are very often. Yeah, exactly. But like with Salesforce, we're doing a lot where, so Salesforce pitches this story of like customer 360, and it's a great pitch, and there is a lot of value in that, but very often Salesforce struggles to get all of that data into a cohesive format and into Salesforce.
Yes.
And then you're ending up kind of like building a whole bunch of stuff into Salesforce to deal with this multiple source of data coming into Salesforce. And what we're doing is we're centralizing that data before it gets to Salesforce, which is great for Salesforce. It makes it easier for your Salesforce implementations. So in short, to answer your question, like, yes, we do a lot with Salesforce. We do quite a bit outside of Salesforce.
Okay. And main is that, would you say, if you had to put a percentage to it, the business that comes into Synatic, what percentage would you say is within South Africa and then outside?
Probably about 90-10 at the moment.
Sure. Okay.
And so you spoke, so obviously you work a lot with Salesforce, but Salesforce does have MuleSoft. So how do you guys play in that game? What makes you better, essentially?
So where MuleSoft plays, if you look on the spectrum of like Zapier to MuleSoft, is MuleSoft's all the way up at the top end, and very often only your big corporations can afford it. And that's really a pressure point for organizations, is like they just can't see the value of dropping, you know, $200,000, $300,000, you know, on the low end, and then up to millions of dollars on license fees per annum, because it's just too much off the bottom line. And that goes globally. It's not just within South Africa. It's just too much of a big hit. So MuleSoft is insanely powerful, and it is a great tool in and of its own right, but it's also quite complex to implement, so therefore quite expensive to implement. And then also we find in about 80 to 90% of the cases that we come across it in a competitive pitch, it's just overkill for what the customer actually needs. So what you've got a lot of is you've got kind of a lot of bottom end competitors where you've got the Zapiers and the Workatos and Celigo. So you got a lot of competition down there, and you've got quite a lot of competition up at the top with like Informatica, MuleSoft, your other big ESPs, but there's a big gaping hole in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's really what our target market is those mid-market companies who have more complexity than what the bottom-end competitors can deal with, but they don't have the budget of the top-end, kind of like the big ABSs and Standard Banks, etc., where they can go and say, cool, I can see justification in spending on MuleSoft.
So what was one of those stories? You say you find yourself in the middle. What's one of the coolest stories you can tell of somebody that just had that aha moment?
Yeah, no, I got a good story there. So we went into a competitive pitch with MuleSoft in the USA, and so we were doing pricing and like any good salesperson, I brought up the pricing sheet on PowerPoint, and I hadn't put per annum or per month on it. I just put the figure in, the monthly figure, the annual figure, and assuming that he would assume that, and he didn't. And put it up there, and you put the pricing sheet up, and he pauses, or I paused, and I let him ingest the pricing, let him read through. You want to let him respond first, and he goes, "That's per month, right?" And I was like, "No, per annum." And he's like, "Cool, send me a contract."
Very nice.
So it's that's really the story is like. And they were a classic example. They've got, they had like 12, 13 systems they were integrating. They needed to orchestrate that data versus just integrate that data. And that's really where you start moving out of that Zapier, Workato realm and start talking more about like, how do you formulate your strategy with data? And that's where we start to come into our own. And it was a total fit. They've been actually our most successful implementation, to be honest.
And how long did that take?
They did it, so it's ongoing. So what actually ended up happening there is, and it's the way we started successfully finding we work with more and more customers directly, is we just set up a Slack channel, they got going, it was 20 hours of training up front, and then they just hit us up when they've got a query, and we go on our merry ways, and yeah, it's a cool story.
Yeah.
And how, just now that you've mentioned it, because it was actually on the previous podcast, but how are you finding Slack? Are you enjoying using it, or is it much better than emails, should I say? Yeah.
So there's emails are not an effective. It's like having a one-way conversation. It's not a good outcome. So there's a space and a place for emails. It definitely is. Like they are necessary when you need to put formal communication down. But in terms of asking questions and stuff, it's just so ineffective.
Yeah.
So we've even got like a Slack channel where our team can huddle, and there's a technical person available in the huddle all the time. So if one of our team members have a technical question, they can pop into that room, they can hop on the huddle, boom, ask the question, exit again. So it's a very effective enterprise communication tool. Yeah. I think MS Teams is starting to catch up. There's definitely stuff MS Teams is doing better, and there's stuff it does well, but it's not at Slack's level yet. But I think it will get there. It's a big driver for Microsoft, obviously. They want to catch up to Slack, and we've seen it. We've seen some of our customers. So one of our biggest partners in the US, they're like a 2,000 person insurance solution provider. So they provide systems for insurance industry. They've switched off Slack entirely, and they've moved on to MS Teams.
Sure.
So, and they're backing MS Teams to catch up to Slack there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're far off. They're about 10% off, but it's the 10% little bits
the
that
10%.
They actually make a big difference.
They do. So we spoke about that aha moment of your client, and obviously aha moments within Slack. Within your career, what's one of those moments?
Oh, many of them. By personality type, I tend to remember the bad things, not the good things.
Or you can say a bad thing, how you learn from it.
Well, not a bad thing, learning. Yeah, okay. We only talk about learnings. We don't talk about mistakes.
No.
I think even within Synatic, within my career, Synatic was probably my biggest learning moments, is those where we're going in as an underdog, like proper underdog. There are things that we shouldn't, in inverted commas, be having those conversations, but yet as this 40-person South African business, I'm sitting at 11 o'clock at night having a conversation with, the VPs of product and VP of partnership at one of our biggest partners in the USA. And they're like a 2,000 person organization. And all of a sudden I'm sitting here as Kippy over here, like 40-person organization. By all accounts, I shouldn't be having that conversation. Yeah. So I think the biggest aha moment for me in my journey of IT is just how value driven the USA is versus relationship driven in South Africa. So in South Africa, we tend to sell via relationships. So you build the relationship with the people around you and then you sell. In the USA, you deliver value and then you build a relationship.
Yeah. Sure. So it's very different.
Yeah, it's a totally different pitch. So you only find out about like how many kids he has, what his wife's name is, or her husband's name is, after the fact.
Yeah.
You don't find that out beforehand. Sure. You don't have the friendly chatter up front. You pitch value. Like, how can I bring value to your business? And those kind of things where this big partner, they saw value in they see, present tense, value in what we do, and being able to say, cool, there's value in what we do. It corroborates our strategy, and there's the value. Let's go and do it. And then we're going through the journey of building relationships out there. That's probably the biggest aha moment.
So I mean, obviously having run your own business previously to working for Synatic, and now you're saying that guys in America are very value driven. How have you found that transition to only pushing value? I want to say pushing, but presenting value before actually creating a relationship, because I know for ourselves it's very relationship driven. If you're best friends with the guy, 10 to 1 it's going to go well for you. And now you're saying it's different. So how did you find that change from also running your own business, now working with Synatic, etc.?
So there's 2 questions in that. So question 1 is, how did I find moving from Chase into Synatic? It was a hell of an adjustment. It was also like I'd exited on shaky grounds, so there's a long story there, but like that's the past. Long since over that, but there was stuff that I needed to deal with in myself. So it was quite an interesting time of life. And Martin was really good in that time, in that like he gave me my space to kind of figure myself out and how I'd fit into this new role. Because it's a very different role from absolutely. Going from CEO to kind of VP of sales. And I figured that out pretty rapidly. It took me kind of 3-4 months to kind of find my feet and find out who I was in that space. And it's gone well since. In terms of the value pitched, sorry, that was complete slip, promise. In terms of the value pitch, that has actually come a lot more easily to me than I thought it would, mainly because by personality type, I'm a very direct person. So I don't tend to like beat around the bush. So in actual fact, it's quite interesting. So I was sitting on a pitch to a UK customer the other day, and I was like, cool, we've had our value presentation. This is what we do. This is how we do it. You have a need. This is it. Next steps, proof of concept, then we can talk about signing contracts. And they were like, whoa, dude, like, just chill out. This is the UK. You gotta like, this is our first date. Take it easy. Like,
we're not getting engaged just yet.
Just peace out, man. So quite interestingly, and like I jokingly, Martin happened to be on the same pitch, and jokingly I wrote like, forgot I was pitching to UK people there, not US people, because they're totally different. Like UK is like South Africa. You build the relationship, you take 2-3 months to build a relationship
Yeah.
with the enterprise, and then you start talking about like POCs, etc. So it's a very different space. So I'm pretty comfortable with it now. Hey, like,
Okay.
and I quite enjoy it because you get to the yes no decision much quicker.
Yeah.
And you know where you stand.
Yeah.
There's no like, we might, let's do this. You
Yeah.
know, there's round robins of different people to engage with.
Yeah.
Like, we're signing enterprise deals in the space of 3 months, which is fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
you go and look at
Yeah.
a sales pipeline in South Africa, enterprise deal is like 12 months minimum, usually 24 months. Like, and same goes for UK. In the US, you can sign an enterprise deal in 3 months, and we're doing that at the moment. So,
And now my question is, so I want to find out the Synatic process from start to finish, obviously meeting with the clients, etc. How long does that process take for the customer to have their problem resolved? Or is it very different?
It's
very different.
How long is a
each-
piece of string?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're
Depends
dealing
on the complexity, etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, we've done projects in 2 weeks. We've
Okay.
done projects in 6 months.
Okay.
So, but in that 6 months, you've always got something through that process.
Yes.
So you don't. It's not. We're not big believers in like a 6, 12, 24 month project process. Like, what we find happens is that too many people switch out in the project team during that period of time on the customer side, and then you've got to reskill up and wada. It's too long. So what you need to do, what we believe you need to do, is break things down into iterative deliveries. So you start off with your first delivery and you get your first delivery done. So, even if that's a month and a half, 2 months, then you've got that phase 1 out of the way. And typically I try to steer away from using phase 1, phase 2, because we all know that game in IT, right? What do you call something that never gets delivered in an IT project? Phase 2.
Yeah.
So that's like, it's the truth, right? We all know it,
That
right?
burns a little bit.
It's the truth, though. Like, most of the time, like at least 75, 80% of the time, that is absolutely true. So we don't do that. Well, I like to think, no, actually, we don't do that. But we break that down into like, what is your most burning and pressing issue? Like, let's go fix that.
Yeah.
And we fix that, and we iteratively build out trust with the customer, and we iteratively build out their solution. And then they get value for money as they move along as well. So they see something tangible that is like, okay, cool, I can see this is happening with these 2 systems. Sweet, I'm getting value. So the problem comes in is when all too often, no, we tend to control this conversation pretty well, but sometimes what happens is the customer tends to jump around and bounce around if you have too much on the plate for that initial delivery. And then you actually don't get anything tangible out. So then you have that awkward conversation 3 months down the road of the customer going, I'm seeing zero value for my system. And it's like, well, dude, if you were not running around like a headless chicken, then sweet, you would have something. So we try to work with our customers to engage with the concept of, let's focus on that, deliver it, move on to your next step.
And I think a lot of companies struggle with that. So we go in with an approach of, here's a solution, let me sell it to you. But we're speaking to people who are in the agricultural space, who are in SMB spaces, and they're selling, say, insurance. They have no idea how their processes should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how we try and approach it too is we go in and we listen to you, what's the problem? But yes, Salesforce is a means to an end, but it's not the end. And the way, how do they get to an end?
Yeah.
So we need input from the customer to say, this is our strategy, this is our end goal. And then we can tell you, this is how a solution or technology can fit into that, whether it be Salesforce or something. That's where we got to come in with a consultation, because we've got those business analysts, those guys who have those 20 years of experience, and say, these are the best practices.
Yeah.
And guys in the agricultural space really don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I think too often, I've done it myself. One comes to pitch a solution. That's not the best selling we've found, is to say, all right, what's your problem? This is how to address it.
Yeah.
Yes, Salesforce can be a solution to your goal.
Yeah, so we've got a interesting thing, and it resonates entirely with what you just said, is we talk about the you and yours voice. So we talk about like what is your need, what do you require when talking to the customer, obviously. So like, what does your solution stack look like? What can Synatic do for you? What needs do you have? So we don't talk about Synatic does this, we do that. Us or our solution. This is about us. It's never about us. It's about you and what your needs are. So our pitch is slightly different in that very often people have the solutions in place already. So they'll have a Salesforce or a HubSpot or a dynamic CRM or an Acumatica or a NetSuite or whatever it is in place already. And they're sitting there saying like, I've got all of these systems, but they aren't talking to each other. So we've got a more specific pitch point than general business processes, which is actually a greater challenge for you guys versus us, where we're saying, well, you very often either you're on the road with a Salesforce or you already have Salesforce and we can make the data flow easily between different solutions that you have in your ecosystem.
Because I think we find that a lot of people, as you said, they do have their different solutions that they are currently using, but find the value in Salesforce, and that's where where Synatic comes in. It kind of puts the two together.
Exactly.
And I think and you can my next question is, well, that's pretty much the answer, is the synergy between Tetrad and Synatic is that at the end of the day we're accommodating what customers have. So they might have a different platform that they do certain things on that they don't want to necessarily get rid of, but they also see the value in Salesforce and how it can assist their business. I think that's quite a why Synatic and Tetrad actually have that synergy, is because at the end of the day, it's about helping the customer.
100%. Yeah, and that's spot on.
Yeah.
Like that's where so many customers have challenges.
Yeah.
Like you look at that ecosystem of Salesforce, and Salesforce is insanely powerful, and the ecosystem around it, people underestimate the value 100%. Of that entirely.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can go DocuSign, boom, done.
Yeah.
Like that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like people don't actually, like customers don't understand how much value that actually is.
Yeah.
Or no, that's too pervasive. Very often customers don't understand how much value
absolutely.
that brings. And like the value of being able to just say, cool, I'm going to plug and play a whole bunch of stuff that I need and then tweak on the front end and cool, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Like sure, like you were talking about it earlier when we were upstairs and chatting over coffee, like you were talking about how, Salesforce it often requires a lot of customizations, but sometimes, well, especially for mid-market customers, that isn't necessarily true. You don't need to make tons of like hardcore dev changes to it.
Yeah.
Like you can very often just do stuff, a lot of powerful
Best
stuff.
practices.
Yeah.
Which
Out
is
of the
exactly
box.
it, out of the box, because, and this is what I'm saying, as much as we want to understand where you're going, what your strategy is and your goal, Salesforce has millions of customers behind them and therefore has acquainted their system with the best practices. Why should you nurture a lead? How long should it take you? What's your activity like? Do we have chat, etc.? Stuff like that. That's where I think, it's cool to have or be selling a product that really has all of that experience behind it, because it's a solution in itself, whether you want to customize it or not.
Yeah. And like in a huge irony, we're a case study. Synatic is a case study of Salesforce. So we used Salesforce a period of time. We were like, it's too expensive. We can't warrant the expense. Or warrant the expense is incorrect. Like we wanted to evaluate other solutions to see if there's a more cost-effective way. We went to another solution for about 8 months, 9 months, and we came back proper, like tail between our legs, like, please can we have our licenses back? Sorry, Salesforce. Like it was a...
Did you hear that, eh?
Yeah, no, but it's real.
So
though.
one more time for the people in the back.
That's a real story.
Yeah.
It's and the cool stuff we do now with Salesforce is like, so what we're doing is we bring our usage stats. So we never bring the customer's data itself into Salesforce. So we're going like, how many records did you transfer this month? Cool, you transferred 1.5 million rows of data, and you storing 500,000 rows of data in your data warehouse, and you had X amount of API calls. And what we actually do is aggregate that data, push it into Salesforce, compare that to what the customer is licensed for, and we get an automatic recon of people who are overusing on their licenses. Boom, done. And like it's entirely automated with Salesforce.
Yeah.
Like there it is. We had to push the data there. So it in an ironic turn of events again, like we actually using Synatic to push the data into Salesforce, which is a case study for using Synatic.
Yeah.
But now what
With
we're doing
Salesforce.
with Salesforce, touche. But like we're getting the customer 360 because we've got bespoke data we need for our customer success team coming out of Synatic and pushing it into Salesforce, automating the comparison, and now our quarterly business reviews are dead easy. It's like, here are your stats. This is what you're using. This is what you're licensed for. Here are your potential upsells. What did we talk about last time in our upsells? Boom, there it is. There's your data. Move on with it.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, something that's been boggling me throughout this whole conversation. So, you guys are a fairly, let's say, small team, in inverted commas, 40 people, correct? But you were saying you work in SA, UK, US. Number one, how do you do it? Number two, how do you do it? no, but number one, how do you do it?
Sip of your coffee. Caffeine fuels everything.
Yeah. So, well, number one, how do you do it? And number two, what's your growth plan? I know you guys, I'm sure the demand is more hectic than the supply. How are you guys going to strategize that?
So our key markets that we're pushing hard at are UK and US. As I say, we are still active in the SA market through partners. So partnerships is a big thing for us in SA.
Yeah.
Targeting customers directly in SA it's not on our radar.
Okay.
It's just what it is. But we very much value partnerships in SA. So we want to drive those, and we've got
Hint, nudge, wink, wink.
No. No, but we do both directions. So
of course.
And it works. It's worked brilliantly with Tet. Is we've been able to go with like a couple of those travel deals we've done recently. Like here it is, Tet. Like you get commission for Synatic, and you get the deal, and you get the professional services. It makes sense for you guys because 100%. That's what your business is, and it makes sense for us. So all good. In terms of growth strategy, we've got a couple of key partnerships in the UK in the insurance sector, very much pushing in the insurance sector. The insurance sector has got an absolute nightmare of data in it. It's just every single time we delve into it, like claims management systems, policy administration systems, agency management systems, they're all on disparate tech stacks. They all need to be aggregated out so that A, they can report, and B, they can integrate every single time. Aggregate, integrate. It's the same story every time. And then we've got staff complement of closing in on 10. I think we're at 8. We're about to be at 9 in the US. And we've got a full stack of like sales director, regional sales directors, account managers. We've got our marketing over there, so we've got 2 marketing folk over there, and then our sales development representatives. So that team's going to grow out in time as well. So
do the team, does the team in the US do a lot of your? I know you guys are purely mainly based on partnerships. That's how you work. Do they then look for partners, or does it just...
So in the US we are going some direct as well, quite a lot of direct, and then there's spin-offs of partnerships in the US as well. So we find that partnerships come through doing direct deals, so we'll go to direct deals. So I mean, in a weird set of events, we signed a decent sized contract last week. In the US, it's a 2,000 person insurance organization. So in the US, that's not a particularly big insurance organization, interestingly.
Sure.
So in the US, like a big insurance organization is like 30,000 people, which we can deal with, but like that's like bigger than Moby Dick. So we signed that contract, and then I get an email from the Salesforce AE the next day saying, well, hey, you're integrating their AMS 360, which is an insurance solution over there, to Salesforce. And we're like, sweet, happy days. Like, we've got other AMS 360 customers.
Yeah.
So like that network effect is very big in the US. And again, because they're such a delivery driven set of people, they really actually are driven entirely by the bottom line. It's a capitalist environment, as we all know. I mean, like, that's not really sharing anything new, but they're going like, cool, if I can make my deals work better because I bring Synatic in and I can sell Salesforce quicker or entrench Salesforce more, happy days. Yeah. Let's talk to Synatic. So that network effect is very strong in the US.
Okay.
As also in Salesforce, I'm sure it's with Synatic, adoption is key. How do you guys manage that?
So we've got that iterative process. So what we want to do is ensure that they see value. We want to be sure that the customer sees value as they go through that journey. Yeah. So the moment they see value, they adopt and they come up with more ideas and more things to do. So there's the initial project is key. So that initial project of what are we hitting, what's the burning issue, is there enough business value in it to make sure that the customer sees the value? So is it going to be something tangible? And that's what we like to focus on up front. The moment we get past that is we want to have a project review straight afterwards and partly check that it ran well, but partly set ourselves up for so what's next. So yes, there are customers where there isn't a so what's next, but there are times where the so what next is, well, you've done what I needed you to do because it's a SMB customer, so that's okay. But what we're looking for is that we've succeeded at something, we've delivered on it, what does the next delivery look like? And that's how you drive adoption, is by staying close to the customer, staying close to their needs, going from burning issue to the next most burning issue to the next most burning issue. So I came up with a phrase, well, not a phrase, but a turn of phrase at least, FOGS, so kind of like FOMO, just fear of getting started, so as opposed to fear of missing out. Yeah. So that FOGS is very real. Like when people look at this like Everest of a data challenge and they go like, where the hell do I start? And then taking customers through the journey of realizing like people don't, well, okay, there's some insanely fit people who do climb Everest in a day, but let's leave those outliers out there, okay?
We won't talk about them.
Yeah, they're just wacky. Like, you don't climb Everest in a day. You climb it base camp by base camp or step by step. Yeah. So taking customers through that journey of like, cool, what's right here, right now in front of you, fix that, and move on to the next thing. And in doing that, to circle back to your question, that adoption process is, it is just so much more improved through that process because we've done something along the way. We don't feel like we haven't achieved. So no one gets out of bed in the morning and goes like, I'm looking forward to not achieving today. Yes, let's go and do it. You know, if you feel like you're achieving, and that's life per se, really, not business, but if you feel like you're achieving and you're doing something, you're going to put more energy into that and you're going to put more effort into it.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's what, you know, going back on the synergy between Tetrad and Synatic, we also very big on, you know, taking it step by step, showing the value as we go along, because it, you know, people are afraid to get started. It is a reality, unfortunately. So yeah, but Jamie, I think thank you very much for meeting with us today. We have been
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes.
We have been thoroughly enjoyed it. You need to work on how you finish your sentences.
But yeah, I think we've enjoyed it. And can we just tag you on LinkedIn? Do you have a LinkedIn, Instagram?
Yeah,
Twitter?
absolutely.
TikTok.
LinkedIn. I don't have TikTok.
Oh no.
I'm over 40, man. Like, who over 40 has TikTok? Come on.
Yeah, but no, thank you so much.
My daughter has TikTok.
Yeah, which one? The 8?
Awkward.
10
no,
or
the
5?
10.
Well,
Okay.
we're definitely not going to be tagging them. It'll be kind of weird. But yeah, no. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time,
Awesome.
guys. Ciao.
That was awesome.